Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Accurate Opinions. I am Jeff Cole. I trust that you guys have had a great start to your day. Today, our topic of discussion is going to be, as adults, are we basically giving our youth, the best opportunity right now? I am joined by my cousin and lovely and most talented and gorgeous family member, Akita Govan. Ms. Govan is a parent. She's a co-founder of Reach Me. Reach Me, correct. I apologize. And a member of the village. You guys, we have to work together to save the village. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and our youth are our children and our children of the future. And that's what we're discussing today. How are we helping our youth? Are we doing them a good disservice? Ms. Govan, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am well, thanks for asking. Actually, you done kind of got my nerves all riled up now. I was excited, now I'm getting nervous about this thing. Actually getting down to brass tacks, I'm always sitting back thinking, living in a subdivision around a lot of children, so no particular activity or no particular action, but in my thoughts, through my lens, it seems like the kids now just are not having as much fun as we did when we were growing up. It seemed like there was a lot more opportunities out there for us. I mean, do you feel the same way, or do you feel like, it's kind of balanced?
I do feel the same way.
Okay.
Things look a lot different than it did when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
We were outside more. We played more. We engaged in more activities that people could see. So I do think that things are a lot different than what it was, years ago when we were younger.
Right. I often think about, when we were in school, there were certain things that was laid out for us. We knew when we got off the bus, there was homework to be done. There was chores around the house to be done. And I'm not saying that kids today are not doing it, but I do wonder. I don't have any children. Do your kids do chores when they come home?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not home when my kids come home.
Okay.
And I think some of those factors could actually alter how things were handled then versus how they are now.
Right. So like if you assign dishes to be done, are the dishes done when you get there?
Sometimes. And if they're not, then there are consequences for them not being done.
Okay. That makes sense. That's kind of like what I was asking, are we doing chores? And I'm not trying to make it look as if, kids today should be bound or confined to any particular chore necessarily. But I was thinking more along the lines of building principle. You know what I'm saying? We build character that way. A lot of times when you pull up in the yard and your son, if you have one, run out and get the grocery, it's building character. That same child will think, hey, I need to hold the door for this older lady. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a taught thing or a learned thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what chores don't necessarily mean, hey, if I don't do chores, I won't hold the door. But, you see people doing things, you'll be like, hey, that was a kind gesture. I want to be a part of that. Or, hey, I need to start doing that or start implementing that in my life.
Right.
So that's why I was kind of like asking about the chores part. I often think back, I know you and I being cousins, we grew up about 30 miles apart. You was on the northeast side of town. I was down here in the country. But I remember Deacon Riley. Deacon Riley had a big bus, right? It was a school bus. Mm-hmm. And he painted it green and white, if I'm not mistaken. And we had these opportunities to sign up to go to the skating ring with him on Monday nights. Mm-hmm. And, back then, things wasn't quite as bad as they are now, with, people being scared to go to the mall, people being scared to do things. But, it's just like, I don't see that happening. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Is it happening?
I would hope that it is happening.
Okay.
And I remember some of those times as well where adults would take time with the kids. And what I do think, and I'm not discrediting anyone, because right. I believe that there are people that take time with kids to make sure that they get out or they're exposed to things that they wouldn't normally do because their parents may be working or maybe because they don't have the resources. Right. But I do think that we have to get back to the basic principles of allowing other adults to help us raise our children. Back in the day, I know that no adult could go and tell my mom that I said anything or did anything, because I got a spanking from the adult that told, and then I got a spanking again when I got home. If you try that now, you know, your response, you know,
Right.
parents' response will be different. But I do think that we have to get back to those basic principles and allow responsible adults to help us parent our kids, because it does take a village.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. You know, back when we were growing, I'm just echoing what you're saying, but back when we were growing up, we went to Mr. Willie Lee's house. You know, we went to Uncle Milo's house, you know, Uncle Carter and Carolyn's house. But we knew that if we showed out there, we knew what the consequences were there. But we also knew that when we got home, we faced a whole nother set of consequences.
That's right.
It's not like, oh, I got the lesser of the two, taking the beating for, you know, Uncle Carter or Uncle
That's
Milo,
right.
you know, but we knew. And I mean, in hindsight, it seemed, well, back then it seemed crazy. In hindsight, when we look at today's society, it's needed.
Right.
It goes back to us being a village.
Right.
And that's the thing that I'm most concerned about. You know, just getting into the thoughts and the heads of the parents, just saying, hey, we don't, it's not that we have anything against your child. We're just trying to help. And it may not be your child. A lot of times it can be the peer pressure from other children,
Oh yeah.
you know, that's making your child act the way they act. Parents always say, I know my child. That's not my child's normal action. My mom said all the time we were growing up, you know, she knew us, you know, and I would even go as far as my mom used to say, if someone called me and said, Hope talked back and Hope did this and Hope did that, I'm going to be like, Hope must be had some type of experience. But if they turn around and said the same thing about my brother, she'd be like, yep, because I experienced that same thing at home, you know, so what can we do now? I mean, you know, back then we had gymnasiums, and I think gymnasiums are still open with, like, you know, Saturday intramural sports or whatever, you know, but I mean, are we exposing our kids by getting them to the museums and, you know, Carowinds and, you know, Disney World and all of that is good. Everybody's not going to make it to Florida. Everybody's not going to make it to California to Disney World. But there's so much more we can expose our kids to, you know, or do you think we're still doing that?
I think that we are, but the first thing I think that we should do as parents is to set expectations.
Okay.
I have to know that my child knows what my expectations are when they're not with me. And I'm not saying that my kids won't do anything. You know, you can't ever say, well, my kid won't do so and so. But they know what my expectations are. They know what their dad's expectations are. They know how we're raising them. And I'm the type parent where I always have kids around and I always have kids with me. If I have kids with me, I expect for them to behave a certain way. And so the first thing is you have to be able to handle kids that you know that are going to be disciplined enough and they're going to listen and be respectful, you know.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing when dealing with other people's children, and then just setting expectations for, you know, children as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. First of all, I want to stop and say, hey, Miss Gina, thank you for joining. Miss Loretta, thank you so much for joining. I see where Miss Loretta has commented. I remember the good old days as you're speaking about, and I think they made me a better person today. Miss Loretta, I echo that to the nth degree. You know, of course, we didn't want to get the beatings then. And didn't you hate when your mom beat you and say, I'm doing it because I love you? You know, I'm like, really? But you're inflicting pain on me and that's love? But in hindsight, when we look at certain things, you know, we'd be like, kind of, you know, it's always obvious when something happened at a party that you were supposed to be to, and you'd be like, oh, I'm glad my mama said no. But in your heart, you really wanted to be at that party, you know, versus us not having that thing happen and understanding our parents saying no. You know, sometimes we have to say no, you know, but, you know, I just want to encourage the parents, you know. Sometimes people say it's too late, but it's never too late. If you got breath in your body and your kid has breath in their body, I think you got a chance. They may be a little far gone. It may take a little work. You may even have to reach out for some input. That's what the village is for.
Right.
You know, but overall, you know, I still think we got to get a handle of things. Things are going a little different in the world today, and I'm not sure why, but my heart just aches for the families and for the children that feel like they have to take the routes that they're taking. More importantly, I would like for there to be, and I'm sure there are, but, you know, ways that they can just go someplace and just vent and just tell somebody what they're thinking about before they do it. You know, it'll save you jail time. It can save you a lot of things, because some of these things are catastrophic. I mean, it's like, it's points of no return, you know? So what else can we do? I mean, what other suggestions? What can we offer to the parents, to help out, to say, hey, I'm here, or, the experience I'm having. And before you answer that, I'm going to say hello to Miss Tanya Wallace. That's my hairdresser, and Miss Janelle Wright. Thank you guys for jumping on. Y'all chime in. Our question of the day is, as adults, are we failing our youth? What can we do to help? How can we help other parents who may feel like, hey, I've let this thing go too long? Help us out.
One thing I was thinking about as you were speaking, I think that as adults, we have to make ourselves approachable.
Okay.
A lot of times, kids, they, may be afraid to speak or to share things. And I always tell my kids, like, if you can't talk to me, I name people that they can speak to, adults that I know that are responsible, and not necessarily to let me know what's going on with them, but because I know that they can give wholeheartedly and honest advice to my kids so they can help make sound decisions. So as adults, we have to make ourselves approachable. And a lot of times, kids don't think that, we're cool enough. Right. It's okay for us to let our hair down and, to joke with them. And, it's okay to strike, conversations with them because they want to, be able to talk to someone or even to be able to confide in. I think that it's necessary for us to lay down some rules for our kids. And I just had a conversation with my 12-year-old yesterday about expectations again. She kind of shared, Mom, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, oh, you have a boyfriend. And so we kind of talked about the boyfriend. I know back in the day, I wasn't allowed to have a boy. I mean, I had one, but my mom said I wasn't allowed to have one. So guess what? I didn't talk to her about my boyfriend. So my approach with my kids is like, let's talk about this boyfriend. Right. What does he like? What does he do? What do you know about his parents? And I'm like, well, you can talk to your sister. So I let her know or gave her expectations so I can have those conversations. I don't want her to be scared to talk to me. And I cringed a little bit because, of course, it's too young for her to have a boyfriend. And I don't want her to be distracted, but I also want her to be able to come to talk to me with also realizing what's important and what my expectations are. She knows that, we have Christian values, and I preach that to her. Mm-hmm. She knows, these days, a lot of times, unfortunately, kids, they have social media, they have cell phones, and a lot of things take place on social media and the cell phones that parents would be blown away about if they knew. So I would encourage the parents just to, check your kids' cell phones, snatch them. If you don't know the passwords, then they don't need to have them. And they're always on top of us. They're always smarter than we are when it comes to social media and the cell phones, but still have those conversations to let them know the expectations. We're not sending nudes. If they're asking for nudes or inappropriate pictures, then that's a no-no. We're not doing that, and we tell them why. So they can learn to have self-respect. And, I'll just say again, what my expectations are. And we can't be afraid to have those conversations with our kids.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go to the comment box real quick. Miss Regina Strada said, every time Mom said no, something terrible happened. Yeah, it does seem that way. It can be it if it's at the actual party or event, or sometimes we don't want it to happen at that person's house, so we can say, meet me on a certain corner.
Right.
So things, we get together and, peer pressure, somebody drew the line in the sand, so now I got to show up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I got to be grown. And Miss Loretta says, she poses a question. How do we pump our children up to believe that they can be and do anything they want without them having believed they can declare victory of winning when they have not? How do we guide them? What's your thought on that?
I think that, again, conversations and exposure. If you can afford them opportunities to, travel and see different things, to shadow different people who are successful, just to let them know that they can do those things as well, and not keep them in a box. I think, the more they see and the more exposure that they receive, the more they'll know that they can do.
I think that is key. Back in the day, when I worked at Verizon, we had this program called Walk a Mile. Mm-hmm. Now this particular program was designed by the company itself, but like, let's just say, for instance, if someone was a call taker and they wanted to be in IT, they could request a day to shadow an IT person. You know, so I think we need to bring back the walk a miles. You know, I know you take your daughter to work regularly. Matter of fact, you took her to work with you one day last week.
I did.
You know, that exposure, because you knew you guys were having guests coming in, and that's just something that she could capitalize on and get the opportunity to speak with these people, you know, and just ask you know, probing questions.
Right.
But I think we need to get back to those type things. You guys, when were the last you took your children, or did you get the opportunity when you were coming up to take your children to work with you, to shadow you? Let them see you in action. Let them see how you are making ways for the family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Show them how we provide. A lot of times, you know, throwing money at the shoes or the outfit is good, but sometimes you got to put the tangible piece to it. Hey, you cut the grass, you earned it. You know, but this is what I do. I get up every morning, I go to the office, I earn it, you know, so that I can come back and keep the lights on, to keep clothes on, or to keep the newest hotness or whatever, you know. So with that being said, I want to transition real quick, because this is real heavy on my mind. Do you think social media is playing a big part in our youth lives right now?
I think social media is because a lot of times social media, you know, kids say things and do things they can't take back, and then sometimes you can't track it immediately. You know, sometimes bullying goes on, you know, especially like on Snapchat or whatever, because those messages only stay there, you know, once they read it and then they disappear. Social media, well, the internet, I mean, you have exposure to the world. You can see any and everything. And I've had to have conversations, you know, with my youngest that I didn't want to have as early as 3rd and 4th grade, because I didn't want the world giving her information that I knew that I had the correct information to. I don't want other kids trying to teach her things. And that's why I have to plant seeds, just like the world's planting seeds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, I think social media is a big influence. Social media presents a false pretense of, you know, they look at the likes, they take pictures, they do filters, and you know, I do lessons, you know, about that. I'm like, how many of you, you know, take pictures? How many of you look at your likes? How many of you use filters? Because everybody wants to look good. It feels good to, you know, for people to like you, and it feels good to be popular. Right. So when you look at those likes, you know, everybody likes you, you know, but you know, if nobody's liking you or liking your pictures or what you're putting out there, then you know, that doesn't feel too good. Right.
It gives us a sense of less than.
Right.
You know, Miss Tanya Wallace said, yes, it does take a village, and the right village to help raise. And that's a great comment, Tanya. It does. More importantly, we have to be open to the village. You know, in the best case scenario, my daughter comes home and wants to go to Keita house, me and Keita parents meet. But there are times when me and Keita's path have to cross before the actual, you know, before the meeting happened. I got to trust that if Keita comes to me and say, hey, I had to chastise your child, that it was chastising worthy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't always get to do things on the front side. You have to do it kind of like after it happens, you know. And Janelle Wright says, not recreate, but procreate. I think that's big. You know, we definitely have to procreate. And Miss Regina Strother says, by doing morning prayer before leaving home, and prayer and affirmations. Regina, I think that's a good one as well. I'm big on affirmations. I have this one shirt that I hardly ever wear, but I often do with myself, saying I am. And I remind myself, I am successful.
That's right.
I am beautiful. Listen, I'm okay if I am alone. We have to be in these places now, you know, because sometimes when we're not there, when we're not thinking, when someone is not liking our pictures, or someone is not trying to be around me at lunch, or somebody don't want to sit beside me on the bus or offer me to go to the party, I begin to feel less than, and then I go the negative way, like I'm not. I guess I'm not. All because the in crowd, or so it seems to be, don't want me to be around them. That's not always the case. But we definitely have to get back to the positive affirmations. I am real big on positive affirmations. Tell your kid, oh, you look suave today. You know, you look nice. You go do that. You know, even if it's a C. Baby, did you give it your best? Yes, I did. All right. Try to push them to that B silently without beating on them. You know, everybody's not going to be an A student, but don't make that A student feel like, oh, you don't have to study. You got this. It's a natural. Everybody needs some type of encouragement to make it to the next level. I don't care if you are super smart or if you're the D person in the class. We need some type of encouragement. Those positive affirmations matter. You know, and Janelle said definitely babies as young as 6 months old are having devices placed in front of them. Yeah, I think it's a way to pass time by. What are you thinking they're using these devices for?
I think it's easy to. I agree, because it's easy. If you have the device, then the parent can go and get something done.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes it serves like as a babysitting service, you
It
know.
does.
But as parents, you know, or as adults, we have to be able to spend time with those kids, because we don't want the computer teaching them more than we are.
Right. Definitely everything has its place. Social media doesn't have to be all bad.
Right.
It just has its place, you know. And one of the things I was thinking about, like, you know, even the time, some people just, sometimes I want, do you ever think to take a break? Because I get caught up sometime when I get home. Sometimes I just sit there, I get me a glass of tea. And before I know it, I'm like, wait a minute. I got here 5 o'clock. It's 10 to 6. And this all you've been doing. You just been sitting there just scrolling. And it happens.
Well, one thing that was amazing to me, I am a school counselor by profession. A few weeks ago, I asked the students, I'm like, how many of you have cell phones? Of course, everybody, maybe 1 or 2 didn't. And then I'm like, you know, how many of you have to, you know, give your device to your parents at night? And hardly any student raised their hand. And I'm like, so what time do you put your device up? They don't have a time. So their times are unmonitored. And I challenged them. I said, you know, try to, you know, monitor your screen time.
Right.
How much time do you spend on your phone? And, you know, truthfully, if they spend more time reading their books and practicing their math, they'll have more success in school like they do, you know, on their devices. But
Right.
a lot of the kids said that their times aren't monitored. Their parents don't make them bring their device, you know, to them or what have you. Lakin has she has to have her device to me a certain time.
Right.
And it has to be in my room.
Right.
And I just check her content, you know, sporadically. Sometimes she look like she's about to have a heart attack when I grab it, and I'm like, that makes me look through it even more, because I know that it's something on there or something that she knows that I won't be pleased with.
Right.
You know, we have to. I know it's easy to allow them to use the device. Because we have other things to do, you know, as adults, you know, we're tired. Some people work more than one job. And then, you know, not to mention your other duties if you're a wife, or, you know, if you have to take care of a parent, or if you have to clean your house. But we have to be intentional when it comes to our children, because, you know, they're our future. We want them to be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I love that statement now, be intentional. I heard you say it a couple of weeks ago when you was like, we got to be intentional about doing blah, blah, blah. Not to say what you said, but I love that statement. Be intentional. You got to have a reason. You got to have a purpose. You got to have a drive.
Right.
Be intentional. Like, you may tell Lincoln, have the phone to me at 9 o'clock. On every night, she may have it to you 9 o'clock. But every now and then, you need to be a little bit intentional about getting it at 7:30.
Right.
Or 8, you know what I'm saying? Because she knows at 8:45, I got to start dumping.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, they're tricky. They're gonna have ways. I shouldn't have to shut down my internet to keep you offline, or shut down your service to keep you offline.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I want my kids to be like like I was when I was coming up. You know, it was like, hey, you can come to my parents' house. You can come to my house, but my parents don't play. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't cell phones, but slip and accidentally say a cuss word if you want to.
Right.
Think you ain't about to get Jackie in the Jeffcoats home. Because listen, that's what was going to happen.
Right.
You know, the kids have to know, first of all, they got to have that relationship with you to know, hey, I can come to you, or like she said, if not you, I can come to a responsible adult, and they're going to guide me in the right direction. You know, so I think it's time for us to start having these conversations. You know, it's been a long time. It seems like there's a disconnect, but tell me what's going on with you. I promise you, I won't judge you. You know, you may be the parent, you may be the best friend, but just grab a youth and just be like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? How are you feeling about the things that's happening in the neighborhood?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How's that affecting you? You know, the fact that, you know, we just saw 2 big incidents happen last weekend here in our area. You know, let's talk about it.
Right.
They need to debrief. They need to release that stuff. They got
Right.
some feelings around that. Because everybody's feeling like, hey, I got to protect myself because it's so much happening.
Right.
You know, so we definitely have to be intentional. You know what I'm saying? Let those children know when they walk out the door, I love you. You know, do well today. I have great expectations for you. I know you would do well. We're entering testing season. School is coming to a close. You know what I'm saying? Pump these kids up. That even if they didn't do what you wanted them to do for the whole year, pump them up now. Listen, we're going to pick this thing up next year. We're going to start this thing off right. You know what I'm saying? But get crunk, get excited, because we're going to be closer next year. We're going to do some things different. We're going to spend more time together. We're going to get in these books together. You know, so we definitely have to we got to be intentional when it's all said and done. And Janelle said, yes, Keita, that's the one. I'm thinking she's probably talking about the intentional part too. If not, Janelle, please correct me. You know, so, you know, a lot of these things, and please help me anytime, Keita, here, but a lot of these things can lead to emotional disorders. You know what I'm saying? The fact that nobody said you look nice, the fact that nobody liked my picture, or, you know, the fact that somebody said something negative about my picture. Peer pressure is real. And, you know, not to really take it from the adults and put it on peer pressure, we just have to know the signs. We have to know our children, number one, and we got to know the signs when they're acting different. Something is going on. And we got to figure out how to, you know, have that conversation. It may mean go and get some ice cream, walk in the park. Hey, you got something on your mind? It's just me and you. But we can't let them slip in depressive states and things like that and start having mental disorders. We got to catch it early.
Yeah, and I would like to chime in and just say, you know, I would like to challenge, you know, the adults, you know, don't only spend time with your kids. You know, invite a friend over and be intentional about those conversations when you go for the ice cream, or, you know, the times when they do want to just, you know, giggle and talk about boys and relationships, or, you know, whatever they want to talk about. You know, just be open to what they want to talk about. And sometimes it's not pleasant, because times have changed, you know, and they see things a lot differently from how we see things. And so we just have to, we just have to have an open ear to be able to, you know, speak to the kids and spend time with them. Just like I said earlier, to be able to plant those seeds.
Right. I think I'm just going to use Keita since she's on the platform here. But you guys, if you have kids, and if you think your kid needs someone to talk to, drop it in the chat. Just drop your email address, and Miss Keita will reach out to you. Look at me putting you on Front Street. She'll reach out to you. She's super good with it. She took, you know, a group of girls with her daughter to a birthday thing, and she was like, girl, I had a great conversation with them. You know, they talked to me, you know, and that's because she opens that up for them to feel comfortable. I don't know what was said. It's not my business. But I'm sure if there was some place of concern, she probably would have pulled that kid aside and be like, hey, let's have a one-on-one with your parent.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, there's always a time in our lives when we have a duty to act, you know, but we have to protect that child and make that child feel like, hey, you did not do anything wrong. This just needs some more attention other than me and you.
And we have to let them know they're human.
Most definitely.
Because as adults, we make mistakes all the time.
Most definitely.
And I always tell kids when they come with something like that's kind of pressing, I'm like, look, you're human just like I'm human.
Right.
I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes, and you'll continue to make mistakes. But you have to grow from them, you know, learn from them, and do something different.
Right. And, you know, I was saying all of that to segue into using myself for an example. We're our dream pushers. You know, I know that I'm a dream pusher, and I might not be able to get that opportunity to sit with a kid, but I try to sow into a kid's life. You know, if it's no more than, hey, do better next time, or hey, you got time to get it right, or study a little harder. And I'm always telling people, hey, if I don't know how to do it, I know somebody who know how to do it.
That's right.
You know, I got so many smart cousins. I might not be the chick, but I got so many smart cousins in my life.
But give yourself some credit. I remember you taking a few kids or a kid here and there to a USC football game.
Oh, now I did do that. Now, I will, because, you know, I always buy those tickets because I have absolutely no intention of going to a game alone. And actually, one of my cousin's daughters that I did take, she never knew what USC was. She was like, what is it? And I was like, it's a college. And when she got in that stadium, she was like, this is awesome. Thank you for reminding me of that. But I'm just saying, you know, and I just happened to call her and say, hey, what are you doing? I think during that time she was like 14 or 15. And, you know, she's grown now out of school. But, you know, we up there taking selfies and enjoying it. She was like, hey, I like this. I mean, USC, the what you call it, the morale there, that's not the word I'm looking for, but yeah, it is awesome. Especially, I mean, it's just awesome. And she totally enjoyed it. But, you know, I was trying to make sure she knew that outside of my mom, outside of my grandmother, I got somebody that I feel like I can trust. You know, but we got to push them. They may say, man, I'm the bottom, I'm the scum of the earth. But guess what? I just got up under that layer and pushed you up another layer. No, we're not going to have we are dream pushers of our children and the village.
That's right.
We got to do it. It's imperative. Because I'm telling you, suicide rates are going up, going on and going up and constantly rising. We have to be mindful. Like I said, when we see something, say something. If your kid coming in the room and they're the type person to be downstairs or on their phone all the time, all of a sudden they're sleeping all the time, or they're missing, don't want to be around the family, it may be time for one of those conversations.
Right. I think it's important to pay attention to those signs. Like, don't allow them to stay in the room too much. Make them engage, with the family. And I know it's easy. Like I said, everybody has something going on, and it's easy for the kid to go in the room and do their own thing. But be intentional about, having that family time. I mean, even if it's just like, 15, 20 minutes, it really doesn't take that long. But you learn a lot if you just say, hey, tell me what happened at school today.
Right, exactly. And we have to make sure we get these youth in more positive activities, not surrounding social media. When I was younger, I remember my cousin Rosa and them, this was long before I even knew about Orangeburg, but they used to always go to state homecoming. That was the thing. Everybody wanted to go to state homecoming.
Whoop, whoop.
Back in the day, shout out to those Bulldogs. That was the thing to do. Going to state homecoming, summer vacation, Maxagray Park. Our uncle used to take us to Maxagray at least 2 or 3 times a summer. It was something to look forward to. State museums downtown and the Koger Center, they have amazing shows. Keita went to see Lion King a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And you took Lakin, right? Or Lakin may have gone with a group.
Well, yeah, Lakin went
Right.
with a group, and I was tagging along.
There you go. But I'm telling you guys, I mean, I love Lion King, the movie itself, but I didn't see the actual stage play, but I heard it was like...
It was packed, and it was phenomenal.
Right. I think every show sold out. But I'm just saying, little small stuff like this. I mean, and some of our kids have unique likeness. You know what I'm saying? So if they say they want to go see certain this or that, you're going to be like, what? Okay, come on. What is it? Mia. They have a bunch of different things coming. Footloose, whatever it is. It may not be your taste, but take it for bonding time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got to tap into these kids' tastes. It's a little, some of them want to be artists. Some of them want to be singers. You may not see it right now, but they're going to think, my mom, my dad, or someone took that time to take me to see that because it's my thing.
Right. And I'd like to add, a lot of times costs can get in the way because the Lion King, things like that cost money.
Right.
But you can do simple things like go for a walk. That's free.
Right.
Walking is free. And I mean, you're setting something for the future where they'll know that exercise is important. Health is important. So it doesn't always have to be an activity that costs money. Everybody can't afford those things, but there are a lot of free things that happen like within the community. There are a lot of different activities at the schools that take place locally that you could take advantage of that don't cost a lot of money.
Right. And even it can be, hey, the basketball games. Get you a seat in the corner and let your child go down there and be with her friends. Don't be acting like you're leaning over looking every moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At the basketball and football game, work up that level of trust. If your kid has been that one that's been a little sneaky, just tell them, hey, meet me at the Rocket at 9:30.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Give that a try first. Now, if they ain't there 9:30, then you might have to step in the G.I. Jane mode. But until then, you know what I'm saying? Let's. I'm not saying loosen the reins right yet, but let's build the relationship. I think that's a great way to segment everything. Let's build better relationship with the youth. If it's not your child, somebody else's child. Let them know that they have someone they can count on.
Yeah, I think you said a mouthful. I think relationships, you can't beat it. Once you build a relationship, you're taking care of your village.
Yeah, that's very important. Miss Gina said, yes, you have to check in on their mentals, and it makes a difference. It does. The fact that you realize, you're going to be like, man, my mom really does knows me. She knows, she realized something was going on.
Right.
And let me just say this. I don't want to get into this bucket right now. In addition to everything that's going on in the world, we have to be very mindful of the stages of adolescence. That alone can pose a lot of different issues in our youth. You know what I'm saying? The things people experience. And now they got so many things out there for children to try at a young age. But even before then, when a child gets to a certain age, a female, she experienced things, a guy, he experienced things. We have to be mindful of that. And, find a guy in your, I mean, if the dad is not there or whatever, let's make sure we have these guys we can say, hey, you're going to have to talk to my son because he's he's doing things a little different. And I don't know how to reach into that.
Right.
We can't be afraid. We got to have, like I said, it takes a village. If you got to go to your church and get the deacon or the pastor or, somebody, get somebody to talk to your son so he can understand what's going on in his body.
Right.
And such is the same with the female. If you don't know what to say, find a school counselor, talk to the school and say, hey, I need the counselor to give my daughter a little bit more, education on how to handle stuff.
Right.
Everybody can't do the conversation. The conversing.
Right.
As a parent, I guess you want to feel like you can, but we just have to make sure we are just recognizing these things. I think
agree.
it's very important.
I agree. Conversations are important, and don't be the scary parent. Don't be the scary adult where you're not approachable. Kids need to be able to feel comfortable. Although she seems like she's cool, I'll talk to her, or maybe I can mention something to her.
Right. Yeah, I think that is key. Ms. Govan, I really appreciate you sitting in with me on this one because I could not have done it without you. I'm telling you, it was a great conversation. Like I said, I don't really have any particular thing I can talk about as a parent, but when I tell you it's near and dear to my heart, when I look at these kids that grew up to the right of me and the left of me, it seemed like they was 9 last week and 19 this week.
Right.
It's like, man, and some of them have had babies and, and maybe still is not still with the baby daddy. And it's like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. And even if they don't come to me to talk, when I see them, I always got a little good word for them. Hey, you're doing well.
Right.
Stay in school. It's hard. I got to hey, if I can help you, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they never take it, it's one thing, but I am going to say it because I am a part of the village. You guys, Keita, you have anything else you want to say?
I don't. I just want to challenge every adult, to be a part of the village, to be encouraging and, to be approachable.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, you guys. And don't forget, be intentional. By all means, it may be at the spur of the moment, but by all means, if you see a need, be intentional. You guys, thank you so much for commenting and keeping the conversation going on. We really appreciate you. If you know of a youth that is struggling, hit us up in the, on our chat box and we'll reach back out, see if we can get some activities or perhaps connect them with a mentor. Anything we can do to help. We are a part of the village. So please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You guys take care. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.